Thanks for zooming in, everyone. I'm David Rabin, CEO of the Greenwich United Way. Welcome to One Table, One Town, a virtual event our Soul Sisters chairwomen, Kirsten Reamer and Nicole Kwasniewski, put together to help bring us all together as best we can during these uncertain times. We need to thank all of you for joining us. And also Deutsche Family Wine and Spirits, Star Films, and Fairfield County Look for their help in making tonight happen. You know, since the inception of the Greenwich United Way's COVID-19 Community Relief Fund, the GUW has granted over $325,000 to 16 organizations that help our most vulnerable. We did this as rapidly and efficiently as possible by holding true to our process. Food insecurity, virtual resources for student learning, basic living necessities, and personal protective equipment are just a few examples of where GUW funding has gone to work in our town. Since the start of this crisis, GUW has also made dozens of connections that have enabled our local organizations to rapidly deploy their resources to the people most affected by this pandemic. And it is all because of people like you that place your trust in the Greenwich United Way. Now let's get cooking. We are lucky to have not one, but two renowned chefs to lead us tonight. Jeff Laszlo has been a chef from California to New York. He was recently named Best Innovative Chef and Best Chef at the Greenwich Wine and Food Festival. Cooking alongside Chef Jeff will be Chef Rob Garceau. Chef Rob grew up close by in the Hudson Valley, and a deep appreciation for raw organic ingredients is ingrained in his DNA. He is currently at Saunier and Castle in New York City. Please welcome Chef Jeff and Chef Rob.
We're both very honored to be here and represent the United Way, helping raise some funds for community funding for COVID-19 relief. So anyway, we're going to make cooking fun and simple today. This is really exciting for us. Rob and I both love cooking, and we love cooking with others, and teaching brings a lot of excitement. Hopefully we can demystify this for you and make the experience of cooking a pleasurable one. One of the things that we've been doing at Jeff Laszlo Food is creating prepared meals that we can deliver to your doorstep so that you can enjoy them with your family. Some of these meals are fully prepared, and some of them are in a setup so that you can cook with your family. During this trying time, it's really nice to be able to enjoy a meal at home with your family, and food brings everyone together. So tonight we are going to give you some pro tips on how to make your cooking experience more fun and very easy. Before we begin, there's a couple pieces of equipment that you might want to grab. We'll kind of list these, and while you're gathering them or getting them, Rob and I will have a little banter and talk about kind of how we know each other and what we do and our experiences in the food world. First of all, you might want to get a nice cutting board and a knife. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees.
With the fan. If you have a convection fan, that'll be really good because it's really important for the chicken to get a nice skin. So if you can preheat that now, that'll definitely speed up the process while we're cooking.
If you have a baking tray or a cookie tray, parchment is not necessary, but it's helpful with the cleanup. Also, a small sauce pot. This will be used to heat up the chickpeas. Mixing bowl for your salad. And you always want to make sure you have a landing spot. One quick pro tip that we do, and we do want to recognize socially distancing. So Rob and I have been isolating ourselves. We only see each other in the kitchen or our families. Typically we're wearing masks and gloves, but for the benefit of you guys at home so you can hear us and we can talk. But we keep names. During COVID time, we use plastic spoons that we use once. We taste good, we throw them out. Typically in a pro kitchen, you have a spoon like this with hot water. You use it, change your water. We have these great tweezers. Tonight, I'm Jeff, he's Rob. We've got our own spoons, so we're not cross-contaminating. But the point of all this is that while you're cooking, you gotta be actively tasting. Cooking is not a passive sport. It is an active participant sport. So you got to keep tasting. So what we might think tastes good might not be your palate. So you might want to add a little bit more acid, a little bit more salt, or maybe a little bit less, but you'll never know. And part of the fun in cooking is constantly tasting and understanding as you adjust the recipe, and you kind of figure out where you're at with it.
Yep. A lot of conversation that Jeff and I've had over the last 8 weeks is like building flavors. You know, we were trained a certain way, and you know, down to how our towels. We just had a 5-minute conversation on how our towels, how we fold towels. He folds it one way, and I fold it this way. You know, each chef is different, and I think just going on what Jeff is saying is, these flavors. You know, it's important for us to build flavors. You know, roasting something or adding acid and breaking down some of the fibers in protein or in vegetables, adding salt and letting it marinate, bringing out some of the flavors. You know, just those layers are really important, and something that we started when we started talking about this concept was the first course, and what really jazzes us is seasonality. Sugar snap peas, we have some pea tendrils, and this really inspired us. You know, I still get chills just talking about seasonality. I'm getting it right now, and that's something that's just like it said, it's in my DNA, and just where food comes from, and just the passion of food.
So Rob and I met a decade ago. He was in Manhattan working for Danny Meyer's catering company, Union Square Events. He was the executive chef there. I was the sous chef at Greenwich Tavern, and we were doing a benefit gala in New York City for probably 500 people. And the fun thing is, at the end of this, you've now served 500 people, and you've met all these people, and you've served your dish, and you had a long night. But then you get to circle around and taste all the other chef dishes, and you actually get to talk to the chefs. So it's a very vibrant community. Thank God Rob and I have stayed in touch and remained friends. We have got a lot in common. And one thing that we always talk about is gardening. So Rob has a big garden in his backyard, as do I. Growing food and bringing it to the restaurant or into my catering company has always been part of, Rob says the children's that jazz moment where I just go to the garden to get inspiration. Like, what's popped up today? So we're really trying to highlight what's happening in this part of the world right now. And as the weather gets warmer, we're going to be able to focus on our local farmers in upstate Connecticut and in the Hudson Valley and even out in Orange County, New York, and Black Dirt region. These are all farmers that Rob and I have been using for years. They are at the Union Square Green Market. Some of them are at the Westport Farmers Market. But really, that's where the inspiration for food comes from. It's not just this idea of we're going to pull something out of a hat and say we're going to make this. It's like, hey, what could I go forage right now in the woods? So last week we had fiddlehead ferns. That was part of our gazpacho kit. That's a very unique and rare ingredient. We paired it with ramps. These are all wild plants that can't be cultivated. They can't be farmed. You have to actually go in the woods. You have to find them. You have to know what you're looking for. And what's also unique about them is they're only here for 4 to 6 weeks each year. So each week with our kit and our menu, we try to highlight what is the best product right now in the East Coast.
Yeah. So I think we should probably jump into first course. What I would recommend is you lay everything out, take all the tops off, and we're going to start with, we're going to want to cut the sugar snap peas. We quickly blanch these, one for tenderness and bring out some of the sweetness. Jeff's going to show you like a pro tip here that we always do.
So when you get the sugar snap, and I know it's a little hard to see, there's a little string at the end, and this is where the flower actually was. So as the pea plant is going off this tendril, it'll flower, and off the flower will grow this beautiful little pea. When the flower dies, it dries up and it leaves this little kind of brown string. And at this end is a little bit of a fibrous end as well, which is attaching it to the plant. So you can certainly eat it, but it's a little bit too fibrous and not as pleasant. So take a small paring knife. You just want to crack the end and pull the string down. And if you get really lucky, it stays intact. And then you make a second little cut and you pull off the fibrous end and you clean all of them. And then we go to blanching, which is really fun and unique.
Yep. I think blanching is probably, when I say to the home cook, just blanch your vegetables. And they look at me with this puzzled look. And I think if I can probably demystify this and allow people to blanch a vegetable. So what I'm going to do is the right way.
Let me interrupt 1 second. Let's look at the color between these two. This is a blanched pea, and this is a raw pea that's not blanched. So the blanching enhances the color and makes it a lot more pretty.
Yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop this in boiling water, and then we're going to cook it for 2 minutes, and then we're going to have it go ready to ice water. The key to this is to season your water really heavily with salt. Make it taste like the sea. So I'm going to blanch that, and then maybe we can show them how we're going to cut these.
Sure. So while Chef Rob is over there blanching, I'm going to take a pea and slice it. Or maybe what I can actually do is do it on this cutting surface here, even though it's a sheet tray, is cutting it at a bias creates a very pretty yet refined look, and it makes eating the pea a little bit more fun. I'll also go through a couple other vegetables here just to familiarize. So Rob already mentioned these beautiful pea tendrils. This is going to act as a salad. We have this beautiful cow's milk burrata. What's really beautiful about burrata is it's got this silky smooth, creamy interior, and it's encased. And so what you're going to do is remove this burrata from the water and just hold it. And when it comes time, we're actually going to crack it open. And what this is going to allow you to do is it's going to unfold in all the creamy texture, and we're going to season it. But it kind of keeps itself encapsulated until then. So you don't want to touch it until right before we put it on the plate. We also have some beautiful radish. We usually like to include the tops, but the tops are really fragile. So you might have noticed in your kit that maybe the tops wilted a little bit. This is a very fragile green. If you can get these really, really fresh out of the ground and not refrigerate them, the tops are great to include in your salad as well. We also have some green strawberries. So, you know, they are kind of exactly what they say. Oh, here we go. Yeah, there's Blanche. And
I just want to show you, like, when I season the water, I'm putting about that much salt in the water. It might seem like a lot.
And we're also salting the shocking water as well with equal amounts of salt, because you don't want the salted peas to go into water that's unsalted, because the unsalted water will pull out all of the salt through osmosis. You want an equal level of seasoning in both the shocking water and the cooking water. So green strawberries are just unripe strawberries. They're a little bit tart, but they have all the strawberry flavor and they're great. So we sliced these thin on this Japanese mandolin, which we'll show you how to use. Be very careful. What we actually did is put them in a little bit of sugar water first, and it kind of sets the color. Sugar is a good medium to keep things green or enhance a red flavor. And then we put some pickling liquid over them. We'll follow up one of these weeks with a pickling recipe. It's great fun for the family. But these are going to add texture and a tartness and a brightness, but a lot of aromatic flavor as well.
Yep. One mistake that a lot of people make when blanching is not having a lot of ice. The key is to really stop the cooking. So having a lot of ice, I had this full, like half and half, 50-50 water and ice. So once you put something hot in there, it's allowing it to stop the cooking as quickly as possible. So as you can see, nice great color, shake them off, and then another nice tip is to take these out, and then you can put them on a paper towel and let them dry.
Chef, we have a question. Do we already have blanched peas in the food delivery?
Yes, great question. We blanched the peas for you to alleviate one step of kind of mess and be able to make sure that this flows well. So for the home cook, you're just going to be slicing the peas to make them a little bit smaller. So Chef Rob and I were talking about putting this dish together, and we knew we wanted spring forward flavors, and Rob had this great idea because we're talking about fennel pollen, and then we're thinking about what's happening in springtime with all these flowers, just like the pea shoots. And so we're thinking about bees, and he landed on bee pollen. This is great stuff. It is a byproduct of the bees. It's kind of all the pollen from the flowers that get attached to the rear legs of the bees, and they carry it around. It's very dense in vitamins, very healthy. It's got a really unique, incredible flavor with a lot of depth. And this is from my buddy Jamie Kimball in Greenwich, Sweet Bee Backyard Apiaries. He's tagged on the Instagram and Facebook if you want to follow him. He's a local beekeeper in Greenwich. And Rob's going to show you how he puts this vinaigrette together.
So what I did is I started with some bee pollen, and what you need to do is activate it or start to, it's gonna thicken up on us, and it's really unique. What we're gonna do is just let this sit. It's gonna bloom, and it'll get thick, just like this. This will turn into this.
What an amazing color!
And the flavor is really intense. So what I do is I bloom this, and then what I do is I'll take this and put into a vinaigrette. We showed them how to cut that.
Yeah, we did show a cut. Awesome. So when you're making a vinaigrette, in other cooking shows or reading books, you might have heard someone discuss emulsification. And really what that is that's taking oil and water and allowing them to come together to become one emulsified ingredient. Now, vinaigrette doesn't have to be emulsified to be correct. In fact, the vinaigrette is really beautiful. Think about classic Italian vinaigrette, like a red wine vinegar with olive oil. You can see the bubbles of red wine vinegar floating in the olive oil with your oregano. This tool right here is a immersion blender. And it's something that you can use at home. So once you have this bloomed bee pollen, you can put this in and start whipping it. So it's combining it, same as a food processor. And you can slowly drizzle in some olive oil. Chef Rob had used some of the pickling liquid that we had used from the strawberries. So we're trying to utilize ingredients here. So one thing is that we want to have zero waste, but we also want to combine flavors that make sense. So that pickling liquid picked up all the aromatics from the strawberries, which then just kind of reincorporates and builds those levels of flavor that we're talking about, so that the dish really makes sense, but there's a lot of depth of flavor here.
Yep. So what we did was we added the pickling liquid. We have white balsamic vinegar, and I always just take the vinegar and the pickling liquid, and I start there. I add a little bit of the fennel pollen, like a nice handful. And then what we do is we add olive oil.
Now this vinaigrette tends to get a little bit thick just because the bee pollen really absorbs a ton of moisture. So don't be afraid to keep adding a little bit more vinegar, a little bit more oil, or even if you need to, just some cold tap water in there or filtered water just to loosen it up so it's at the right consistency.
Yep. And right before we serve it, it's separated a little bit, just shake it, and it'll come back together. That's the bee pollen. It's acting as an emulsifier.
So, should we plate this?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Chef Rob is going to mix this salad, and while he does that, I'm going to use a microplane to shave the radish.
So first step is taking your sugar snap peas, the tendrils, and we're going to have the vinaigrette that you have. I don't have it available. Take the vinaigrette and lightly toss it with the pea greens and your sugar snap peas. Sorry, we're technical difficulty. So with your vinaigrette, toss your tendrils together and put it in the center of the plate to make a little nest. Yep. Yep. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a burrata. And what you can do is cut it right in half. It's going to ooze out on you a little bit, but that's okay. and then flip it over so that the creamy side stays inside.
So we got this beautiful burrata. You want to go for a thin shave, touch of vinaigrette. I put a little bit of salt, pepper, and you want to toss it together. And then you can, I'm actually going to use a spoon for this. And you can sprinkle this across. And the idea is that you're adding a little bit of texture, a little bit of earthy flavor. We're getting a lot of variety of vegetables in here. It's a very exciting salad. As you eat it, you keep uncovering all these different great flavors, and tastes, and textures.
All right, and then we can't forget one of the co-stars here. We have the green strawberries that are pickled. Just put those around in random spots so that you get that bite of acid and sweetness to kind of cut through the burrata. Doesn't have to be perfect. And these will keep for at least a week, 2 weeks. So throw them into another salad. They're not going to go bad.
One thing you want to make sure is because the burrata has so much fat, it's creamy, it's milk, it needs a healthy pinch of sea salt right on top. And a crack of black pepper. This will really bring out the flavor. We also included a big koto. Big koto is great musk that's been recooked. Italians are really great. It's like we're talking about utilizing all the ingredients. And essentially, it's similar to a balsamic. It has that syrupy, kind of dark, rich, big flavor. And if you give you a little bit more than you need, you really don't need too much unless you really prefer it, but very strong. And in the right proportion, it makes the dish look really beautiful and adds a sweet tart element. If you overdo it, it'll kind of take over. It's a little strong.
Yep.
Chef, we have another question within the chat. People, a couple guests would just like to know, can you repeat just again what you tossed in the dressing?
The dressing is pre-packaged. So it's
right. So the dressing has the strawberry pickling liquid. It has apple cider vinegar, balsamic vinegar, the bee pollen, fennel pollen, a little bit of lemon juice, and olive oil.
Got it. And there was a question about the radish. Should it be?
Yes.
Does that get tossed into the salad?
We toss the radish with the you do the pea tendril first as your base. Then the radish gets mixed with the snap peas and on top of the burrata.
Did the lemon juice go on top of that dish at all?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
There's lemon juice. Does that get incorporated with this dish? You're not.
No, the lemon juice will be for the asparagus for the main course. And by the way, there's no right or wrong way to do this. And, you know, we'd love for you to take pictures of what you make and send it to us, and we'll share it. And, you know, all this is just making food is great. So just have fun with it and enjoy.
Is this the dressing, this right here?
I'm sorry, we can't. Is it like yellowish tinge?
Yeah, it's the bigger container.
Yes, that is the bee pollen vinaigrette. So yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep. Sorry we couldn't label everything. Jeff and I have been sprinting. We haven't really had a day off because of just COVID supplying home delivery. So maybe in our next we'll get better at our packaging and labeling. But I apologize for that. So one of the last steps is we took some white quinoa, which looks like this. And what I do is I overcook it and then I deep fry it. And it's a really nice crunch. You know, when Jeff and I were talking about building flavors, textures are also another important component to a dish. So you have something firm, something soft, and it goes really well. What you can do is just gently sprinkle it right over the dish. It doesn't need it all. But again, just adds a crunch factor, which I love on a dish.
All right, so here's your complete dish. It's got burrata, pea tendrils, sugar snap peas, radish, vin cotto, pickled strawberries, a beef ball and vinaigrette, and this and puffed quinoa. And this you can put it all together now, or you can wait. This dish is actually hard enough to hold up. We're going to now start prepping the main course. So when we got on the call, we asked you to heat up your oven. We got ours at 350.
So if you can, throw your chicken in now and set your timer for 15 minutes so that it has time to warm up.
So we use a simple sheet tray. These are beautiful chickens that Chef Rob broke down the other day. And we have cooked these about 85% of the way. We wanted to render out the fat on the skin and make it crispy. We wanted to give it some color, and we wanted to expedite the process for you. Chicken takes a little while to cook. So everyone gets a half chicken, and they get a leg and a thigh. We chose to break them down and cook them separately because the breast cooks differently than the thigh. Chef Rob put together a beautiful glaze. So after we season these with salt and pepper, we have a glaze here that Chef Rob will tell you about. I'm going to pop this in the oven.
So what I did is I marinated the chicken. I made a salt with Meyer lemon zest. Took salt, Meyer lemon, smoked paprika, Aleppo pepper, which is delicious, my favorite pepper. A little bit of more paprika, a little bit of coriander seed, turmeric, and here's a great tip. You know, Jeff is the first person besides myself to put whole coriander seed into a pepper mill. When I saw this today, I got so excited. You know, it's just like cracked pepper. I love coriander seed, so that's something that people can do is just having whole coriander seed in a pepper mill, crack it onto your salad, onto your chicken, onto your eggplant, whatever it may be. But I was super jazzed to see that Jeff did that today. So what I did was I seasoned the chicken with all these spices, and then I let it marinate overnight. Just let the chicken just kind of hang out and just do its thing with all the spices. Then the next day, what I did was I roasted up the chicken. And what the chicken did was released all the water, all the fat. I took that fat and in the spice mix, I took all the liquid and I added the seasoning pepper to that. And I lacquered the top of the chicken. So it has this like mahogany, ruby, reddish color. Just another depth of flavor, and just that really enhance your chicken.
So while your chicken is cooking in the oven, you're going to take one of the pint containers that's in your bag and open it up. Be careful, there's a lot of liquid in there. It's got chickpeas, tomatoes, and eggplant. So here's mine. It's a very generous portion, but super delicious. And you know, if you're vegetarian, you can actually eat this as your meal. Sounds the chicken. Essentially, what we did is we took dried chickpeas, we soaked them in water overnight. This allows them to absorb water, and they double in size. We then poached these in some water with salt, some aromatics. So when we discuss aromatics, bay leaf, thyme, onion, garlic. After they're done cooking, we strain them out, and then what we did is we made a base. So we took some chicken stock, a little bit of tomato, and some smoked paprika, and some of the other spices that were used in the rub of the chicken, so it's complementary flavors. We also oven dried these cherry tomatoes with thyme and orange peel, and we diced eggplant coated it with a seasoning of cumin, coriander, and caraway, roasted it in the oven. This has a lot of flavors, a lot of textures. This is kind of a Middle Eastern, North African style chicken stew. It's got a tremendous amount of flavor. It's very healthy, very nutritious, and it's really filling. Yet it's light as you eat it. So you want to put this in a saucepan and bring it up to a simmer. Simmer it for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then turn it down to really low, or just let it hang out while your chicken is cooking. This is again where you want to grab your spoon. You want to dip it in and taste it. If you think it needs a little bit more salt, put a pinch in. Put a crack of black pepper. If you think it needs a little bit more brightness, you can certainly add a drop of lemon juice, or if you have white wine or red wine vinegar in your house, you can put a drop. The key when you're adjusting flavors is to put in a little bit at a time, taste it, see how it changes before you add too much. You can always add more, you can't go back. So on this stove, we've got some asparagus. We've got a hot pan here.
Yep. So you can see the pan, it's starting to slightly smoke. It's going to put that asparagus right in here. You can hear the sizzle.
The reason we season from high up is so that we can get an even distribution of salt. So if you season right here, you're going to get that spear. You season up top and you move it back and forth to get an even distribution. Asparagus, another great local seasonal vegetable. There is wild asparagus that looks a little bit different than this. The trick is that the ends tend to be woody. So the best way to do this is naturally just snap it. And the vegetable will tell you exactly where it should go. So if you're down here, it doesn't really snap because it's too fibrous. So if I move up, it just snaps. These can be composted. You can make the stock out of this. So you can put this in a pot, cover it with water, put a pinch of salt, cook it, and then use it as a base for a vegetable broth or soup. But certainly, you don't want to waste anything that you don't have to. But Chef Rob and I have done in restaurants is make an asparagus stock, and then maybe some of the asparagus stems that aren't as beautiful become part of a soup or just a spring soup in general. So you could have leeks, fennel, ram, asparagus, peas, and you can create a really beautiful spring green soup.
Jeff, we have a couple more questions in the chat. The first one is there butter in the chickpeas?
No butter in the chickpeas.
All right, that was an easy one. The next one is, how was the eggplant cooked?
So we diced the eggplant, small cubes, tossed with olive oil, salt, cumin, coriander, caraway, roasted in an oven at 350 degrees, maybe 375, just to get it so it releases some of the moisture, got a little bit crispy. We want it to retain its texture.
Excellent. And then the final one, as of this moment, is, do we use radish leaves?
You can use the radish leaves. They're very delicate and delicious, and if they're still in great condition, they can be used anywhere in the dish as a garnish, as part of the salad. They're 100% edible. All right, so going to adjust our table, make sure that everyone can see what we're doing here.
Another thing about the eggplant, the reason why we roast a little bit was to kind of create a eggplant on like a sponge. And we put it into the chickpeas to kind of absorb that flavor. And really kind of has that meaty taste to it.
Now we made this nice and loose with a lot of liquid. One of my pet peeves is when you're eating a dense vegetable or anything that doesn't have a lot of sauce or liquid, it almost is harder to eat. And there's a lot of flavor in the sauce, so you really want the sauce. And so, you can use a plate like this, or you can even use a shallow bowl. We didn't happen to have a shallow bowl, but it would look particularly beautiful. But remember, sauce is the driver of flavor. So what you want to do is, get a nice amount of this garnish here. Don't be afraid to have the sauce that run on the plate. Really delicious. Got a mix of all the vegetables here.
Here's our nicely roasted asparagus.
You can glaze this with a drop of the lemon juice now, and it'll coat the asparagus.
So that lemon juice that you have, it doesn't take much. And what we're doing is lightly coating that, and then we're gonna add the Parmesan next. You go right into the pan. Toss it around a little bit, pick up some of that cheese. And we gave you plenty of asparagus, so. Right. Take your shot.
And now we got a dish that could stand up on its own as a vegetarian entree. Check our chicken here. Our oven cooks a little bit hotter than yours does at home, and we have a high-powered pan. Now, for our sake here, we might put the chicken on, but at home you might want to take it off and actually put it on a cutting board and slice it. The portion's a little bit large, but we wanted everyone to have leftovers for tomorrow, so you could keep thinking about spring and thinking about growing a garden and foraging and all the beautiful local produce that you have available to yourself.
Chef, we have a preparation question again. Is olive oil in the pan with asparagus?
Yes. Put about a tablespoon worth of olive oil into the pan. And once your pan starts to smoke, put your asparagus in and just roll them around gently.
Other oils like avocado or any vegetable oil work as well.
Got it. We also have another quick one. When I order chicken from the butcher, what should I ask for?
Well, when you're ordering chicken from a butcher, it really just depends if you prefer light or dark meat. The most important thing that Rob and I will always say is that the quality of the ingredient is the most important. So you want to ask your butcher what farm it came from. It doesn't necessarily matter specifically which farm, but it's more about the practices. So we only serve meat that has no antibiotics, no hormones, and that is not given any kind of GMO feed. A lot of chickens will say that they're free range, but they're not necessarily. So, you want a chicken that has been raised in the proper way. It's going to be more delicious, and it's going to be healthier for you and for the environment. We really like dark meat because there's a lot of flavor there. White meat is also great. It's just kind of more of a personal preference. Dark meat stands up a little bit better to overcooking. So if you're worried about that, but it's also whether or not you want to roast a whole chicken versus having to skin this boneless breast. In some applications, it's really easy to throw a chicken breast on the grill. Whole chicken is delicious, but takes a little bit more care and is sometimes easier in an oven.
One chicken brand that I love is Green Circle. Both Jeff and I, from the retail perspective, Citarella sells these. But Green Circle, their chickens are super tasty. It's a little bit higher price point, but I just know that the chicken itself is well taken care of and great flavor. Another thing that I like doing is getting a whole chicken and just poaching the whole thing. It can turn into chicken salad, it can turn into chicken pot pie, it can be stewed. You have chicken stock, you put in your freezer. It's just it's a one-step dish. Just cleaning it, it just goes a long way.
Well, you have chicken stock left over that you can make chicken soup with, or you could braise chickpeas with.
Yep.
Very versatile.
Yep.
Whole chicken.
We have one more preparation question. What is in the brown sauce?
What is the what sauce?
What is in the brown sauce?
So this is it's the braising liquid from the chickpeas that we mixed with some chicken stock and some tomato products, so a crushed tomato, and we fortified it with the same spices that we put on the rub of the chicken that Chef Rob was showing. So it's just a very flavorful base that we use to reheat the chickpeas to give you a lot of flavor and have a sauce.
Yeah, there's sherry vinegar in there. There's smoked paprika, more coriander seed. You know, and as you can see, we left a lot of the juice in here for that reason. You could re-fortify this or re-season with more sherry vinegar or more spice or chilies or whatever you may be. But, you know, you can also, you know, drizzle on top. I like a lot of sauce. That's just my preference. I don't know if Jeff does or not, you know, like, but it's whatever your personal preference is. But again, these chickpeas are going to go a long way. This will be in your refrigerator. I think the spirit of giving, we gave you a half a chicken per person just because we know it'll travel for a couple more days.
There's also a sweet treat in your bag. So we included a Valrhona chocolate and a French macaron, just because we felt that a good meal is always finished off with a tiny little piece of sweet, especially chocolate. So anyway, we're very thankful to be included and wish the United Way the most success in helping our community. And please visit jefflaslow.com, and we're delivering every single week to Fairfield County, Westchester County, Manhattan. We go all the way up to Fairfield, Wilton, Westport, and all throughout. And we'd be happy to bring you some delicious food. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Jeff. Cheers.
So we do have, thank you, chefs. We do have a couple more questions. What kind of chicken was used for the dish? Chicken breast with the bone and thigh, boneless, was it skinless? A lot of questions surrounding the chicken choice you chose.
So it was an ABF, antibiotic, hormone-free chicken, halal. It comes from Pennsylvania, and we gave you skin on with a thigh and a breast.
So Chef Rob actually perched the whole chickens and broke them down. So one bird came and then broke them into all the different parts. So they all are bone-in, skin on.
Got it. And someone also just had a question. How long should the chicken go in the oven right now?
15 minutes at 350 with a low fan, or just the fan, you know, just so the air circulates. The chicken was cooked, like we said, probably 90% of the way. It's probably already cooked all the way through, but just for safety's sake, we said 15 minutes at 350 in your oven.
Got it. We have a lot of compliments in terms of everything is smelling great and tasting great.
That's good.
Thank you, guys.
Excellent.
Does anyone else have any other questions? We're utilizing the chat function, so please just type in your question into chat.
Hey,
Again, many more compliments for you guys in terms of what they were prepared. A couple of people asking for the recipes.
Okay.
Absolutely. So again, follow us at jefflaslow.com. Sign up for our weekly news blast. We send out recipes, weekly menus. One of the unique things that we do at the service is that every week is a unique menu. So we're constantly rotating. So we're having fun. Like I said, we're sourcing local ingredients. You know, we're having so much fun here. You have no idea. I mean, we're working hard, but every week we're just inspired and we're trying to, you know, have fun. We did a taco box. This week is hamburgers and hot dogs. Mother's Day was a little bit more sophisticated. You know, we're trying to bounce around and sign up, get the recipes, the newsletter, the menus, and let's all have fun together cooking.
Yeah, if anybody has any ideas or things that they want to see, you know, a couple ideas that Jeff and I bounced around was maybe do a Chinese takeout. And we give you cooked rice, you can make fried rice, or it's a clam bake, and we give you all the components and you put it all together. So send us your ideas. You know, we have a lot of firepower. We can do a lot, and we'd love to supply you with some fun and exciting food.
Got it. We also have a question. What kind of tomatoes did you use?
Which we use a couple different types. We use the crushed New Jersey tomato, But then we took heirloom cherry tomatoes. I confit them. I split them in half, and I slow roasted them at 275 degrees for about an hour and a half, low fan, with olive oil, salt, pepper, a little bit of Aleppo, some thyme, and some orange peel. Actually, I think you posted a photo of them being roasted on your Facebook, so if you want to see what they are. But I literally just took the tomatoes, cut them in half, made sure that the flesh side was exposed and the skin side is touching the sheet pan, and slow roast them. And that's what happens is the skin captures and keeps all the juice and the flavor in, and as the tomatoes slowly roast, it concentrates all that flavor. A little trick that I do, I don't know if it's called cheating, but I add a little bit of sugar, just a touch, just to kind of create that umami, because I'm adding a lot of salt and a lot of olive oil. And also salt is a good ally to salt, because it brings salt and sugar bring flavor in and out of protein or in vegetables. So I just add a little bit of sugar.
Also, this time of year, when tomatoes are growing in a hothouse, they don't have the full time to develop, so they're not going to have as much natural sweetness anyway. So there's a lot of tart. That's also why you want to slow roast them, is to try to coax out as much of that sweet flavor as possible.
Right. We have 2 more questions.
Sure.
Everyone's looking forward to enjoying the meal. So actually now we have 3. So first one is, do you have a kale recipe or a suggested way to cook kale that my family won't turn their nose up at it? We also have the question of what to do with the grated cheese, and can you review how to open the burrata again?
Sure. So let's take the kale. Kale is an interesting ingredient. It is absolutely delicious, but it is also slightly polarizing. However, prepared in the proper way, kale can win people over. Just to digress for a quick second, Mill Street Bar and Table, my restaurant in Greenwich, we made famous the kale and cabbage salad. And we took 2 very humble ingredients and made them the star. And this has kind of become a cult classic. One of my good friends sent me a picture. Her, 3-year-old was eating the kale and cabbage for breakfast, and I think that's a testament that a polarizing vegetable and something that is also very humble can be made so delicious. So it's really kind of in the preparation. The secret to that salad is everything's raw, but you ship it out it really fine, so it's easy to eat. We're also adding, as we were talking about, balancing flavors, fat and depth of flavor with the Parmesan. There's umami in here, and also the acidity from the vinaigrette. So a raw kale salad can be really great. The crunchy cabbage adds some sweetness as well. In the cooked sense, taking kale and putting it into a hot saute pan, similar to the one that we did the asparagus. If you put a pan on the stove, let it get hot, like really hot. Be careful, but don't freak out. Put a drop of oil, let the oil start to smoke, drop your kale in, and then quickly move the kale around in the pan. Use like a tweezer or a tong, or if you're really cool, you can flip it around. Sprinkle a little bit of salt, and then lemon juice. Lemon juice is magic. It just brings out the flavor. And a quick saute on that will keep its texture and a lot of flavor.
Yep.
What's your favorite way to do kale?
I love kale just raw, to be honest. I love it with blueberries, or definitely something salty. I think blueberries are fruit. I think fruit kind of gets either people love it or they don't. But I think kale has that herbaceous bitter notes, and it goes really well with fruit. I think apples, depending on the season out too. Pears, apples are really good, but I like it raw. And I think the key to, if you're doing it raw, is massaging it. So you can just throw some olive oil, some salt, pepper, and kind of like work it down and let it sit. You can add the acid and just put it off to the side of the table, and the acid and the salt start breaking down. I actually had the privilege of having Jeff's kale and cabbage salad, 2 humble ingredients. Like I said, they're awesome. It's a great thing. He adds pumpkin seeds and it's great cider vinaigrette, right? Yeah, and it's awesome. So I think there's a lot of ways that kale can be done, but you can, another way, if you have the ability, is frying it, shaving it really thin and blanching it in hot oil. It takes a little bit of
It's like a kale chip.
it's like a kale chip, yeah, and it comes out well, but it takes some practice. So that's you know, you can come when COVID's over, come down to our kitchen and we'll show you how to fry some kale. But it's a great garnish. I mean, even fried kale on top of this goes a long way.
To answer the question, the Parmesan was to drizzle on top of the asparagus. Not necessary, but asparagus is so earthy and vegetal. It's actually even more polarizing than kale, so having a little bit of the acidity of lemon juice and then the nuttiness and the fat from the cheese really help boost its flavor and make it a little bit more enticing to eat. And then the burrata, in terms of opening it up, you want to hold the burrata, use your hands, wash them first, obviously, and you would come in and literally take your thumbs, push them in, and just pull it open. You can't mess it up. There's nothing to mess up. You're just trying to rip it open.
Yeah. And if you don't want to do it, just get a nice kitchen spoon and just break it right in half, and then scoop it. Use the sidewall of the pint container or half pint container, just to cradle it. If that's that's the easier way for you to do it. Just like one note, with the asparagus, you have the olive oil first. That's the key. Move that around the asparagus. Then the second part is adding the lemon juice and deglazing the pan. But that's when you want to take the pan off the heat, because you're gonna have carryover. And then you're gonna add your cheese. You can see, I don't know if you can see, there's these like little great bits of Parmesan. They're like Parmesan chips, and that is like another layer of umami, and that's really tasty. So if you can kind of slow down the cooking once you get this roasting and sprinkle the cheese in, you can add the whole thing in here, like I would, and that would be really delicious as well. But these two components with the asparagus.
So, all right, that was all of the questions in the chat box for now. So thank you, Chef Jeff and Chef Rob. We also just, again, a lot more compliments for you guys, as well as some great compliments. People, I guess, are enjoying the Deutsch drink of the pink Negroni. Now, I know David has a couple more things to say to everyone. And
Thanks, Jeremy. Just great job tonight, everybody. Just a couple other things. A couple of other pairings with this dinner would be the pink Negroni made with Fleur de Prairie rosé. Of course, if you're into a John Collins, make sure you use Redemption Bourbon with that. Josh Sellers Prosecco and Barone Fini Pinot Grigio work really well with what the chefs cooked tonight. So thanks for zooming in. We're very grateful you joined us. Thank you, Chef Jeff and Chef Rob, Deutsche Family Wine and Spirits, Star Films, Fairfield Comedy Look for your help in making all this happen tonight. And bon appetit.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.